Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
Well, the first question you may ask is why would anybody do that if you can buy one, if you can buy one for $26? But I find that the quality of these new pumps, some of them even have pressed metal vanes in them as opposed to the old cast iron vane. So I thought I'd give it a try, and I was successful in getting the old water pump apart, which is not an easy thing to do without damaging it, but I did get it apart. And there is a critical part inside that's the water seal that rubs against the back, or that forms the seal between the back of the vane and the shaft. And it's not something that's easily identifiable. And I was just curious whether anybody had ever, number one, done this before, and number two, had a part number or a source for the water pump seals. The bearings appear to be in good condition, so it could be a fairly simple thing to do if I can locate the seal. So any suggestions or comments would be appreciated.
Bruce, you may want to try British Car Specialists in Stockton,
Okay.
California. They specialize in rebuilding Healey's and Sprites. And if not, if they don't have it, you'd be safe ordering from them because their parts are a notch above what you get from a lot of other people.
Okay, thank you. Good suggestion.
I rebuild water pumps for big Healey's. I've never done Sprite ones. Does this pump have two bearings or one single cartridge bearing?
It's a cartridge bearing.
Right. And the bearing's okay?
Well, bearing's in fine shape.
Yep. I have seals for both versions of the 6-cylinder Healey pump. I was just looking at the part number here for the seal, which is HG698. I think that may be the same part number as the BJ8 pump has. I'd have to check it for sure, but I have both the Healey seals. If you were to contact me and send me the outside diameter of the section that presses into the body,
yes,
I can then tell you whether I have the seal for it.
I will send you I actually have it. It's 1.426.
Unfortunately, I don't have the seal in front of me.
No, okay, I'll send you an email.
That would be great, and I'll see if I've got it for you. If I got one, I can certainly help you with that.
Oh, that would be terrific. Thank you very much.
So Michael, have you found rebuilding water pumps is the better way to go based on the quality of the reproduction ones today?
I've had terrible problems, and I've put them on a lot of people's cars over the years, the reproductions, and had an appalling failure rate, unbelievable. And such things as the shaft breaking and the pulley and fan racing through the radiator, and the impellers coming off, all sorts of things. They really, I don't know whether they've changed, but they really were garbage.
Is anyone hey Dave Malley, I think you may have some background noise. If you're not speaking, Dave, can you put your computer on mute?
Sure.
I think that's
Peter, can you bring that picture up that I sent you? Just
probably not.
That's fine.
I'm using my old computer, not my new computer, because I had a problem with my new camera. Sorry.
No problem.
I mean, do you have that? You can share from your screen too, Bruce, if you have it.
I don't. I can't do it either, Peter.
Okay.
But Michael, I'll send you an email with the little drawing and a picture of that dimension.
That'll be fine. I'll see what I've got.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's great. Bruce, anything else?
No, that's it, Peter.
Okay. Sounds good. Daryl, welcome back to the club. Hope you're doing well. Daryl, you're on mute, by the way. Okay. So
yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm looking to do some things. I have a BJ8, and I'm just trying to get a feel for what kind of new, more modern things I could add to the car. Petronics. I've got a spin-on oil filter. Thinking about going away from wire wheels, and I just want to get a feel for which what, if anything, I might be able to do to the BJ8 to, in a way, modernize it.
So, the old saying, Daryl, is if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
Are you having a problem with your electronics?
I am not,
Okay.
but I've heard about, I don't have Petronics now, but I've heard of it, the electronic ignition. I don't know
Yep.
if it's worth making the switch or not.
To what end? Why do you want to do it?
Feeling a little more secure about it, I guess. I just don't want to have anything.
All the original equipment has literally done millions and millions of miles reliably.
Okay,
And
agreed.
if you look after it, it will serve you really, really well.
Okay, good answer. What about the wheels? Wire wheels are going to,
If the wire wheels are originally in good condition, unless you're going to be racing on 48 spokes, they'll last you forever.
all right.
But I think he's got 72 spokes. And
Yeah.
are those,
I have 60. I have,
You got
I
60
think they're
spokes?
60.
Okay.
They're almost indestructible.
Okay.
So
So,
Daryl, how old are your tires?
oh man, I can't remember when I got them. 15, 20 years maybe.
Oh,
There you go. There's your
But
first.
I'm driving, I got a little wobble. I could probably get the new tires, but I'm not, if I put 2,000 miles on in a season, that's a lot for me.
I would invest in tires before anything else.
Yeah.
All right.
Tires, 7 to 10 years is the recommendation. I did put new tires a year ago on my BJ8, and it made a huge difference.
Okay.
My
What
tires
kind
were. So go ahead.
of tire recommendations?
I use the Vernonsteins. Now I know there's Michelin's and there's others. I've had good luck with those. I'm running 185s on my BJ8.
Yeah.
I've got 165s on my 100. So I've had good luck. I also invested in new wire wheels. Mine were probably 25 years old.
Yeah.
Ken Beck, I don't know. I don't see Ken on the call right now, but he a couple years earlier, he shaved and balanced my wheels and tires. He said 2 of my wheels were square. So, so we had those on the rear, but I put new wheels and tires on, and it made a tremendous difference. No scuttle shake at all.
Pete, did you change the splines when you changed the wires?
I did not. No, the splines look good. They were nice and sharp, Tom.
How about
But that's a good point, though. I mean, if you're they can be shifting there on the splines if they're not real sharp as well. Good point, Tom. Thank you.
how about 354 rear end?
I have a 3.5 in mind. Is that what you said, Judge?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a 3.5.
I have a 3.54 in mine as well. Best modification I ever made to my BJ8 with overdrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I echo that. You have no problems on the interstate highways, and it adds a little bit to the fuel mileage, and it cuts about 300 or 400 RPM off.
What was that?
So Daryl, this is change your differential. So your car, because you have an overdrive car, correct?
Correct.
So it's a late BJ. It's a 67 or 66 or 67.
67.
Yeah. Okay. So that would originally had a 3.9 differential.
Okay.
The
411.
Oh, was it?
No,
Okay.
it was 3.9.
Was there any? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there were 411s. One moment.
I thought 3.9s, but I trust you, Michael. So
I have the book.
okay. But so the 3.54 differential, they were used in the non-overdrive cars.
Got it.
And so you can if you have you can change the pumpkin out with that 3.5 differential. As Judd and Tom talked about, I've got that in my BJ8. I had a situation coming back from Conclave in Quebec. I lost my overdrive and drove home in 4th gear without any problem. It was it dropped, it was going up over 500 RPMs, but it was a comfortable ride home with no overdrive. It would be horrible in, a normal one with an overdrive car without overdrive. So it made a huge difference. Now, Michael's,
Sorry about that.
we got right for once. Okay. But yeah, that's a nice enhancement. Now, there was a gentleman who was making 3.54 gears. Does anyone know today? Is anyone still doing that? I can't think of the gentleman's name at the moment.
It's Mike. You're thinking, Pete. I think you're trying to think of Mike Lempert.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mike Lempert. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I have his. That's what I have in my car. His
I do
very
as well.
first. His very first run.
Yeah.
I have a question for you then about that. Sorry to get slightly off subject. Is your differential very slightly noisy?
I wouldn't say so.
No.
Silent?
Mine makes a wee tiny bit of noise, but
Yeah.
it's not objectionable at all.
No, but you just hear a slight differential whine, very
Yeah,
slight.
just a very slight. Yeah.
I don't hear any noise at all,
Good.
but
Yeah, I didn't notice any difference.
It's been in the car for about 20 years, so it seems like I'm pretty comfortable that it's going to be okay.
I've had some experience with the changeover. I went to oh, come on, the folks in England that something that do a lot of racing stuff. What's the name?
Well,
Hardy Engineering?
Welch? No,
I'm sorry,
Dennis Welch?
Welch.
Dennis Welch.
Yes, well,
I went the route of buying a complete prepared set,
Yep.
a pumpkin, and it whined like the devil. I talked to him. I kept my original pumpkin. I didn't trade it in, and I sent it back to him. But it whined so bad it just was too much. They apologized. I sent it back to him. They sent me what did they do? I sent it back to them. They said they were going to examine it and find out why. I never heard anything about that. They said they were going to send me a new one and they were going to test it before they sent it. They sent it to me and it whined just as bad, if not worse. I took my old pumpkin. I went to H Spares and I bought the ingredients, the
Gears.
the gears, and I had it done locally here in Vermont, and it's just beautiful. So that's my experience. Be careful where you go. If you can find somebody that you buy the gears from Spares, they seem to be appropriate. And if you can get somebody that knows how to put it together, it isn't easy to find somebody that does enough of it that knows anything about it. I had my fingers crossed, but mine worked out. The other thing, to answer your question, Daryl, about one thing that's made a big difference in my car, I agree about the tires, Peter. That makes a big difference. I have a 65 BJ8 that I bought about 2 years ago. I put the shock absorbers. I did it on the rear end. Put the tube shock absorbers, replacing the old type. Not cheap, but it made a world of difference in the way the car handled. In fact, it costs about a half or less to do the front shocks because they're much easier. There's not so much work involved. And I'm going to do those this summer.
And what kind of shocks were those?
SPA.
Spec.
SPAX.
SPAX, yes. And AH Spares. Do you know about AH Spares in England?
Yep, they're very good.
Yes, yeah.
Daryl, yeah, okay.
Yes.
They have them. That was not cheap for the rear ones because there's modifications, including you might have to move a fuel pump, depending on what you got back there. But it's a big difference in how the whole thing handles. You go over the railroad tracks in your car, do you get a big bang thump when you do that?
Everybody does, I think.
Well, mine doesn't. Mine doesn't. It behaves more like a regular car now.
All righty.
Well, Darrell, that's
That
another
made
point.
a difference. The other
Alden brought
thing
a very good point regarding the fuel pump. Are you still running your SU fuel pump?
No, that got replaced years ago. I've
You
got
know,
an
I
electron,
I
I've got an
run
electric
the
fuel pump.
original one I had with the car, but I put a second one in with the switch.
Yeah.
So that if I lose it, I can switch over. I can also shut it, put it in the neutral position. If somebody tries to steal the car, they won't go very far. But in any
Yeah,
event,
I've done the same. I got 2 fuel pumps in mine.
Yeah, I've got the
running in
same
parallel.
thing.
Really?
Yeah, the other thing I did is I did the I replaced the got AH Spares has a new steering gear that works pretty nice, and I got very little movement in my steering wheel. back
Scuttle
and forth.
shake.
I'm sorry, say again.
Scuttle shake.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones that are continuous. It seems to have the same. It doesn't get tighter that much when you go into the center.
Yeah, I
It's-
just put that same piece in my car.
Who's speaking?
Tom.
I just
Tom
put
Mulligan.
that same, I just put that same AH Spares whole steering box and steering shaft assembly in my car.
You
Are you
did
happy
that
with it?
since last month, right, Tom?
I did, Pete.
Yeah.
Thank you for remembering.
Are you happy with it? Are you happy with it?
It's fantastic. It's expensive, but I had
Well,
to take my
is it?
steering box out anyway because I had
Yeah.
damaged it, one of the ring bearings inside of it. So I decided to do this, which I've been planning on doing for a few years. So I put their whole entire assembly in my car, and it's about as close to rack and pinion you're ever going to get with this archaic design.
Which is all not that close, but it's
Yeah.
it's better, much
So
better.
curious, Tom, how long did that take?
Well, you mean the actual
Yeah.
labor of
How difficult
closing
of
up?
a job was that?
It's not terribly difficult. I mean, you got to take a lot of stuff off. It took me there was a month between taking everything out and putting everything in because AH Spares had a back order on the part. But that
Okay.
was, that was what you do this time of the year. You lay the car up. But, you have to remove I have a motor leader wheel on it. So you remove the steering wheel, steering hub. You remove the 2 little plates on either side of the firewall that have rubber grommets in it. You remove the radiator, you remove the grill, and you don't have to remove the grill surround. And you can slide, and of course you disconnect the wires, and you can slide that whole assembly out through the grill. I padded all the chrome around the grill, just to be safe, but it really wasn't even close. Putting it back is pretty much the same thing. It's just nuts and bolts. I cleaned up the wiring a little bit.
Did you buy the whole thing or did you buy the parts and put them together?
No, I bought the whole thing. I bought the entire case and everything. And yes, you can buy just the worm gear and shaft if you'd like, and match it to your own bearings and everything. I didn't realize there were so many other adjustable parts in one of those steering boxes. But I know a lot about what's inside there now, the hard way. But it was well worth it. It was the steering is fantastic on the thing. No center play whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah.
So
They call it a constant clearance worm gear. It's machined differently than the factory one. There's no high point. It comes fully adjusted, so I didn't have to worry about that. So it was good, but it's not cheap, and it's a fair amount of labor.
So curious, Michael or Bob Yule, do you have experience with these new boxes and the differences they make?
I rebuild
Okay.
originals, and they seem to be quite successful, but I've never put in another one. That high point in the steering you're talking about is an interesting discussion. The theory is that when you're going straight ahead, you don't want any clearance in the steering, so you don't want the car to wander in the lane. But as soon as you start turning the steering wheel and turning a corner, it doesn't matter if you've got wander, because the steering will always be pushed against one side of the peg. So it's irrelevant.
Yeah, how the constant clearance worm gear works, I don't really grasp, since there is no there's no play at center either, when there's no stress on the wheels, as you point out, no force.
So a funny story.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I went to Southern Carburetors. They were the first people to build steering boxes, and they were starting the machining work on worms. And the owner of Southern Carburetors said to me, "We'd love to make them with the high center, but the machining is much too expensive, so we're not going to bother."
So you live with it, right? Daryl, we covered a lot of ground there. I'm not sure it's all ground you wanted to hear, but any other questions or thoughts or feedback?
Yeah, and one last thing, exhaust system, right? Stainless steel, or they just buy the regular, what are thoughts on exhaust mufflers?
If you're not driving the car on a salty road, as we used to, the
No,
original the mild steel system will last fine, except for the flex pipes, and they'll
Yeah.
always break because they're so if you can get even if you get a mild steel system but have stainless steel flex pipes, it'll last for years and years.
okay, thank you.
We're finding now, though, that the stainless steel systems are cheaper than the mild steel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, getting back to the rear end, what's your source for those 3.5 rear ends?
Yeah, so I guess A Spares sells the gears.
Yeah.
You'll have to have someone rebuild it for you, Chris.
Yeah, I've noticed that going from first to reverse, I'm getting quite a snap in the rear. I don't know if that's in the belt, if that's in the pumpkin, or where that is.
U-joints or wheel splines first.
Well, it's not wheel spines; they're brand new wheel spines and brand new wheels. So probably
universal joints.
possibly, I guess. Yeah, I have to really get it up and wiggle it around, check it out.
Then it can be the diff. Yes.
Yeah.
Daryl, is one more thing I would suggest you, and you're going 60, 65 to 70 down on open highway. Are you getting rear wheel bounce at all?
No, I get a little wobble around 50. Once I clear 50 miles an hour, the wobble goes away, but
One of the things was the imbalance of the rear drums has been a perennial problem. And I finally took some original drums. I tried Moss motors, replacements, nothing worked. I took them, my original ones that I had on the car, the old fashioned ones, I took them down to Hendrix wire wheels, and he balances, and he did a beautiful job. And my rear end now all the tires just stay right on the road. It was worth it trip. I happened to be going that way, so I didn't have to send them because they're heavy. They're down in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Hendrix wire wheels, Daryl. That's where I bought my wheels and tires. And I did the exact same thing, Alden, with my brake drums. I sent those down to Alan, and again, one of them, the original design of it was oblong. So fortunately, I was able to get a new one. He was able to get those balanced properly. So I've got new brake drums on mine as well.
I did that also with Hendrix. I had the brake drums balanced.
Yeah, his story is that when they went to, what was it, India or something, to buy the drums, or wherever Healey did that, they said, well, we can do a good job or a mediocre job, and he says, I don't want to pay for the good job. So that's why we've got wheels that tend to bounce. But I've heard a lot of people have had trouble with they're nice heavy drums, but they weren't balanced.
To balance them, did they weld stuff on or did they grind off?
I think
he did both. I think he adds a little and takes a little away, or whatever it is. But he did a really nice job. They're all painted up and cleaned up and look great. And he also did something else too. I think he made sure that everything was round. He really did a professional job of it.
So he shaved and balanced the wheels and tires for you too, Alden.
He didn't shave the tires down. I just took the drums in.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't bother with a shaving, but
okay.
Because if you buy good tires, they should be reasonably good, although there's been some controversy about that.
He'll also true the wire wheels if you feel that that might be necessary.
I'm sorry, what?
He'll also true the wire wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But mine were in pretty good shape. I had them checked around here in Vermont, and I was satisfied that they were okay.
So
Just
Darryl, you
another
brought up
option.
about. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm gonna shut the thing down.
Oh, so Darryl, you brought up about the exhaust. One of the things is to consider, your 67 had that second resonator that when it goes horizontally across the backside of the car and exits out of the right-hand side of the car.
Yeah.
I chose to go more like the exhaust
No,
system
I'm
that's on.
with you.
Again, hey, John, BJ8, if you're not speaking, put your on mute. I guess I put him on mute anyways. So Darryl, I chose to go with the Welch Motorsports big bore exhaust. It's 2-inch exhaust. It's mild steel. I'm still using the flexi pipe up front that Michael talked about. I chose not to put their header on. But I like it's got a deeper throat sound to it, and it comes straight back instead of coming across. I find it's got a better sound to it.
Pete, that's interesting. I took that second section off my car some years ago just to see what it would sound like, and it was incredibly loud, and it wasn't a good loud at all. It was just loud and annoying.
Okay.
So that's interesting. You perhaps, and I wondered why that was, because as you point out, the other Healey's don't have that second set of resonators. So why are they quiet? Mine was so loud when I took this off. Are the other mufflers materially different than the BJ8's first set? Primary set?
That's a good question, Tom. I'm not sure. Mine had already been converted to mild steel in straight pipes back, but they're 1 3/4 inches, and I chose to go with the Dennis Welch big bore instead. I also had that on my 100. And
that's interesting.
It's got a deeper, throatier sound to it.
Okay, thanks.
Not to kill the wheel thing, but if anyone wanted to think about I got a set of D-type alloy wheels from Realm Engineering about 10 years ago, and they're splined and they fit really well, and you don't have to worry about the spokes going, and I really like them. So you can think about doing that too.
Yeah, and James got a beautiful BJ8. Are you still running your hardtop
with
on
the
that,
side
James?
exhaust too, by the way?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You do have a side
very
exhaust.
loud. Yeah.
Coming off the left side.
Yep.
If it was a right hooker, it wouldn't be so loud.
Yeah.
Walk right in and
I cleaned off an exhaust coming off a ferry boat one time at low tide.
Yeah.
Got the mufflers at the metal edge. Totally unwound those flex pipes. Well, I tell you, want to talk about loud. That was loud.
I did the exact same thing. I was in Bennington, Vermont, coming out of Dunkin' Donuts on my way home on Route 2, and did the same thing. And that was on my 106. It was brutal. Had 150 miles listening to that.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's loud.
Yep. So Darryl, other questions?
There was, I want to lube up the car and do some fluid checks, but is there any kind of checklist or guide that tells me where I can find the nipples for the lubes and so on and so forth?
Go to Moss
The
Motors.
shop manual shows up with our
Moss Motors, you can buy an original handbook, a reproduction of the original handbook, and that stuff's very well explained in there.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Darryl? You're on mute, Darryl.
Oh, thank you. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, well,
I might want to suggest one of those Wasp starters.
It's a high torque starter. Is that what it is, Chris?
I put one of those on, and boy, I really like it.
Yeah, I have one on my car as well. Gear reduction starter. It works really well.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, lots to think about there, Darryl. And spring's coming up to us, so
Right.
you got a lot to do in a few. Okay, well, thanks, Daryl, for those questions.
Thank you.
Steve Feld, you still on?
Mayor, sure.
Hi, Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Uh,
So you want to share with, you said you have an interesting problem.
Yeah, I don't know if it really is a problem, but it appears to be one. Uh, in doing I put I have a BT7 and putting it away in middle of December. I was going through it the other day and I pulled off a couple ignition wires off the top of the distributor. I was checking to make sure everything was tight because I'm getting it on the road again now for spring. And I pulled off the distributor the wires. It's not a side entry on this. This is a top entry. Pulled it off, and every other contact in the distributor cap had a fine brown powder in it. And it was every other of the six. The other three were perfectly shiny. Looked into the inside the cable that went in there, and there was a powder on the brass contacts there too. In fact, the powder in the distributor cap was probably a millimeter or two high. It made the studs inside look a little bit shorter. The inside of the distributor cap, all the contacts, the brass look all uniform. The wire from the center of the coil, from the coil to the center of the distributor also had that fine light brown powder. I know it's not rust. The car was running fine when I put it away in December, so the dust was there in December. I can show you a picture of the top of the distributor cap. I share a screen.
Sure, go ahead. The green button, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you see the center distributor contact, and then you see every other one is shiny and every other one is dulled, and the recesses for the dulled ones had quite a bit of light brown, very fine powder. I know it's not rust. It wasn't rust at all. And again, the car was running fine when I put it away. It seems to me to be more of a coincidence, more than a coincidence, that it's every other cylinder. Those correspond to cylinders 4, 5, and 6 in my car. I have Electronics. It's a DM6A distributor.
What sort of ignition wire are you using?
These were vintage wiring.
Is it solid metal core wire, or is it carbon core?
Yeah.
Metal core.
Yeah, magnet core. Yeah.
Metal core.
Yeah, but all 6 cylinders are the same.
Yeah, but you can use modern carbon wire if you want to. So I've only ever seen that when the wire was not touching the contact properly. So you're getting arcing in there.
Yeah, it looks like arcing, but they weren't burnt. It was just this fine powder.
And you're sure that they were solid steel or copper cables?
No, they were the other. No, they're not.
They're carbon cables?
They're carbon cables.
No, that's a real problem, because there's with those screw-in type caps, there really isn't a type of connector that you can penetrate the carbon with and then hold it tight onto the contact in the cap. So what we do with those is we get a very, very small self-tapping screw, and we run the screw through the little split copper washer up into the ignition wire, and then screw the cap in, and that makes a really good contact. What you're suffering from there is actually arcing inside that little cap, and what you're seeing is actually burned insulation from the wires.
Makes sense.
Follow that?
It's what from the wire?
It's actually carbonized burned insulation. The black insulation on the wires is carbonized and burned and settled in there.
And it would be brownish.
Yeah, it goes brown or black. Yeah, but it's because you've actually got a small arc occurring inside there.
Yeah.
So would you recommend changing the wires in the cap without the screw-on cap, Michael?
Well, in the old days, we used to use solid wire in those things for, brass or steel wire. But these days with cell phones, people want to talk on their cell phone. They make so much noise you can't hear on the cell phone. So we are now using carbon wires, good quality carbon wires, or they use other materials, but carbon mostly. And as I said, with a very small self-tapping screw to hold the washer on and then use that. So it gives you a nice solid path.
And it's
Steve, did you
just
also
coincidence. It would be
Go ahead,
just
Steve.
coincidence that it's every other
I think so.
contact.
I would think so, yeah.
But you said it's the 4, 5, 6 cylinders, right?
Yeah, that's what those correspond to. And
Yeah.
the ends at the spark plugs were all perfectly clean, were very good, but those are steel. Those are not brass. The contacts here were brass on brass.
Yeah. There was no obvious difference between the 1, 2, 3 plugs and the 3, 4, 5 plugs.
You say there was
No,
a huge difference, yeah.
There wasn't, no, between the plugs themselves, the spark plugs, no
Well, the
obvious
plugs,
difference.
no, all the plugs are uniform.
No, so the mixture's probably pretty close. So no, I'd say that it's just coincidence that you had bad contact in those three spots.
Now, did you say, Steve, you got a problem with the car now starting?
Well, I'm not using this distributor cap now. I did start it the other day. It ran fine.
Okay.
With new wires and a new cap, a side entry cap.
Okay, with that
the
push
side-
in and not screw in.
The problem's resolved with the side entry cap because you have that little pointed screw that goes all the way through the insulation of the wire and right into the carbon, and that works properly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to hear, huh?
Yeah.
So, Steve, you said the car's running fine now
Yeah, I started it the other day. It ran
with the
fine.
new cap and wires.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Michael, thanks for that. That's very insightful.
It was arcing. I suspected it was arcing, but it just, because it was so light brown, it didn't, it seemed strange, especially with every other one. That was very puzzling. You'd think all of them are, three on one side or something. You'd think all of them would have it, but apparently the contact was good on 3.
Yep. Okay. Bob Brennan, you had a question regarding alignment?
Yes, sir, I do. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Great. I emailed you the question, and it boils down to this. Exactly what does a modern shop need for numbers to put in their computer for alignment? That's it. I've got another question after that.
Okay.
Three things: camber, caster, and toe.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that, but I need to know the numbers.
Haha. I think toe is a 16th, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember.
The toe is the 16th. That's the only thing I know. Yeah.
Pete, I wrote an email. Can you bring that email up?
Again, I'm working on my old computer because my new computer's the camera died. So unfortunately, I don't have that.
I see.
I don't think.
Well, some of the notes that I encountered in my Google search and in Haynes, quote, toe end should be measured with the wheels on the ground and after moving the car forward. Another quote is, Casper on Austin-Heelys is not adjustable.
Right.
Another quote is, can't read my writing. Oh, 0 camber and reset and reset toe end. So do you camber first and then reset toe end?
What is your car, Sandy? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, it's Bob. I'm sorry. I'm on my wife's computer.
Oh.
A 63 BJ7.
Well, there is no camber and caster adjustment on that. right?
Yeah, it's
only
only
towing.
towing, right?
I believe there's camber.
I
No,
don't believe
Nope.
it.
No,
No, I
don't
think
think
it's
so.
there's no adjustment on it, but many are bent. So when your car is bent, the camber and the caster will be incorrect. So if you're going to get it checked by a shop who can do it, they'll give you numbers for the camber and the caster and the toe, but all they'll be able to adjust is the toe. After that, you're on your own to straighten the frame. So it is that simple.
well, I took it into Palmer Spring in Portland, a big shop, last year when I first got the car. And I waited in there for 45 minutes and they said, Mr. Brennan, I'm sorry, we don't have the numbers. You'll have to go home. So the reason I was doing this is because there was uneven wear on one of the tires. It was a case of positive camber. Okay. And the guy had pretty good tires on there, the previous owner, but he just about ruined them in not taking care of the problem. So there was positive camber, and I've just put new Michelins on it all the way around, and I'd like to get that positive camber straightened out. So,
Well,
Okay,
it is.
what sort of tires are you running?
Michelin.
Okay. Radial ply tires are a lot less sensitive to camber than the old bias plies that we used to have.
Well, there was obvious tire wear
Yeah,
on
no, I
this.
understand. So if you've got a problem on one tire, you really need to look. First thing you need to look at, I believe, is caster. Is there any pull on the steering wheel, or does it
No.
track down the road dead straight?
No, I drove it up to Stowe last fall, and it tracked true.
No,
So
no
there's no
evidence
pull.
of it pulling left or right.
No.
Then caster's not the problem. Yeah, you can measure the camber yourself. It's not that difficult.
I've seen a YouTube video of that.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. How much out did they say it was out? Do you get a number?
Nobody has said anything about it. They're just
Is it apparent? Is it apparent when you look at the car from the front?
No, it is not apparent.
Well, I have found that you can, just by looking at the car from the front, you can see a half a degree.
Really?
Camber, you really can. You get a car that's got 1 degree difference side to side. If you park it on a flat surface and look at it from low down at the front, you can tell one wheel is not sloped the same as the other.
Uh-huh. Well,
so do that.
I will do that. I will do that. I have an appointment day after tomorrow at another tire specialist, wheel specialist, spring specialist in Portland, and I'll.
But isn't the point that they can't do anything about it anyway? There is no adjustment.
Well,
Pete, we're seeing your email.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is Bob's email.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There are offset bushings available for the top of the kingpin to enable you to adjust the camber.
I have read that. Yes.
But that's treating a symptom, not the cure, not the cause.
Uh-huh.
If you're going to repair it properly, you've got to get the mounting points for the suspension in the right place. Adjusting the camber by putting offset bushings on the top is really treating a symptom. It's like taking an aspirin.
Uh-huh. Now, one of the previous owners had done some pretty extensive conversions, including a 5-speed Smitty conversion and disc on the rear wheels.
Disc brakes?
Yes.
Okay.
And the car rides nice, but there are a few things that need to be done, and a couple of cosmetic things I'd like to address, such as the chrome on the surround and the chrome at the top of the doors. It's not rusty or anything. It just was not done right. There's like stains coming through.
I'm sorry, did you say this is a BJ7?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But, okay, you've gone on to another subject now. Is that what you're saying, Bob?
I have.
Okay, okay, because, so are you comfortable with everything? And Carl J, I think you're on the call. Didn't you have an issue with your BJ7 with alignment on yours, and you put new tires on yours, and did you do anything on the alignment side, Carl? Carl J, you still on? Okay, maybe not. But I know he had an issue with wearing of his tires, and I didn't know if he had any resolution on that.
Well, what does everyone do? I mean, do they take it to an alignment shop? Do they do nothing or what?
I know on Carl's car, he just brought it to an alignment shop on a modern machine. And they just adjusted the towing.
That's all that can be adjusted.
That's all you can adjust. What kind of wear is on the tires?
You could rotate the tires on a frequent basis, and you'd even out the wear. It wouldn't fix the problem, but it would even it would.
If the previous owner had done that,
yeah, but you don't worry about what the previous owner is. What are you going to do moving forward?
Right, moving forward, moving forward, I'm going to take it to McFarland Spring and see what they're going to do.
What kind of wear was on the tires when?
It was
Probably going to have when you take it to a spring shop like that is they're not going to be able to straighten the frame for you. I just did a BJ8 that had a real bad, it had an accident on one side, and we literally had to use a porta power to straighten the frame and get the two front shock absorber plates both flat and aligned. But that's a pretty serious job. I mean, we were pushing on this thing with hydraulic rams to bend the frame back into position. We got it right.
I'm guessing
2 days work.
I'm guessing you could see that from underneath the car.
No, you won't. You only see it by looking at how the wheels look.
Really? Well,
yeah. The frame looked okay, but the right side was tipped in. The car at some stage had been hit in the right side, and it had pushed the top of the mount for the shock absorber on the front right had been pushed in about half an inch.
I suppose the alignment shop could look at that at the same time.
They'd look at it and they'd say, "We don't do that."
I've heard that before.
It's not our thing, man.
Yes. Someone asked where the tires were worn. They were worn outside where the one tire was worn on the outside of the tire. Okay, so it was a case of positive camber.
Yeah.
Rich, you're on mute.
Sorry, I mean, if it was worn on the outside of the tire, one tire, that could be a toe-in also.
Toe-in will cause equal wear on both tires.
Right. Was there wear on both tires?
No, just one. Just the right side tire.
That's either camber or caster on one side, and most likely camber, as you pointed out.
Okay.
You can run it up. You can run it up to Dwight Ontario. I'll fix it for you.
I'd like to go up there one day. I do have a couple more quick questions. Could you recommend a chroming shop? Re-chroming shop.
Anyone have any luck with chrome shops recently?
I just used a place in Canada called Cambridge Chrome, which Bob, you will know all about. And they do a great job, but man, it ain't cheap.
I've got a spot. I'll have to look it up. It's in Worcester. I haven't used him myself, but I have a friend that restores brass era cars and is pretty particular about chrome that he does on other cars.
Really?
This guy is really good. I'll get a name and Peter, I'll send it to you and you can distribute it. Okay.
Thanks,
one of my sons just bought a house in East Granville, and I go down that way past Worcester, so that would be very convenient. And my last question is, the previous owner I bought this car from drove it to the golf course and back, and that's about it. And he bought it restored, so he said, he was rather senile, did not have many names on file, didn't have a whole lot of records. I'd love to know what kind of rear end this thing has, whether it has a 354 or a 3.9. How would I find out?
Drive
Drive-
overdrive and look at your tack.
What's that?
Yeah.
Say
Drive
again?
overdrive and look at your tack and see what the RPM is. I think, because won't they be pretty consistent in terms of what the RPM would be?
I've got a 5-speed Toyota in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Like,
Much for
yes,
that.
you could put it up on jack stands and turn the rear tires and count the revolutions of the drive shaft. Calculate the ratio.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is if you pull the axles and drop the pumpkin, it'll tell you what it is right on the pumpkin. Or maybe on the outside of the pumpkin. You may have it may be etched on the outside of the pumpkin.
You can't trust that because if somebody changed the gears,
Yes,
You're right.
you
yes.
can
Like
bet
my
they didn't
car,
change
yeah.
the numbers.
No, you're
Right.
absolutely right. Yep.
You putting it up in the air is the trick. You put it up in the air with just lift one wheel off the ground if you need to, or lock one wheel, turn the drive shaft and count the number of turns on the drive shaft for the other wheel to turn 2 turns. 2 turns, not 1, 2 turns. And that will give you the ratio.
Is your speedometer correct?
Of course it's not.
Yes.
Smith's.
Probably not. I don't think so. I really don't know.
Why the 2 turns? What's the
Because the differential,
What's the ratio?
one wheel will be stationary.
oh
If you turn the
okay.
other one, it has to go around twice to get a full
If
set.
you lift the whole car up, then
Well,
it
then
will
it's very
like
hard to
what?
get both wheels turning at the same time unless the handbrake is really off.
Yeah.
Now, if someone was to convert to a 5-speed Smitty, would they just kind of like automatically go the extra mile and do a 354?
No,
Probably not.
No.
You don't need it.
It's kind of a one or the other thing, you know?
Right.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
What's the overdrive ratio on the 5-speed, you know? The 5th gear.
I don't know.
Is that a Toyota box?
It's a Toyota box, yes.
Yeah.
It's a W58 Toyota.
Yeah, I don't know what the overdrive ratio on the 5th gear is.
You know, Pete Delaney bought that business from Smitty. So he's the one that has it now. You can maybe reach out to Pete. He may know.
You'll know the numbers.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've run across those numbers. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your input. You've given me food for thought. Thank you.
The ratio on a W58, a true 58 is 0.783 in the 5th gear.
Is that what you have in yours, Bob?
Yes. And I
Okay.
also have a 3.54.
Oh, you
rear
do.
end.
You did both.
Well, I did the 3.54 10 years ago. I put the 5-speed in last year.
Right. So did Paul Linnell do that for you, Bob?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Was that 0.738?
0.783.
Oh, 0.783.
Interesting.
So it's a 27% overdrive.
That's what it works out to.
So it's pretty good.
I'm running on my BJ8. I've got the 354 rear end, and I'm running at 28% overdrive. So I'm cruising down the highway on tick over pretty much.
Yeah.
That's tall.
Now, so there's 2 examples there of people who have a 5-speed and 354.
Well, that was Bob Britton who's speaking initially. So he originally put in the 354 differential, and then last year he put in the 5-speed.
Yeah. Now
He's
I don't
also
know.
He's also running triple carbs on it, his VJ7 too, Bob.
Well, he was in Norway, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yes, I was.
You need him up there. Triple carbs. So there's two examples.
I don't know if anybody can hear me, but my internet is breaking up a lot here.
We can hear you fine, Bob.
Okay.
There's two examples
sometimes
there. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, sometimes I'm not hearing any questions or anything, but all I can say is that with the W58 and the 3.54, it's delightful running 75 miles an hour on a highway. You know, I'm somewhere down around 2,700 RPMs.
Oh, that's nice.
Problem is, I never got to use that in Norway. No highway.
Bob, when I last spoke to you, it was in Stowe, and you commented on the wood dash in my BJ7, and you said that's impossible.
Well, it wasn't original. Maybe.
Well, it was not stock, so someone put that in prior to that in.
Yes, you've never seen another example of that, huh?
Well, I have a BT7. Mr. Bevan has one.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Does he? Dave Bevan does?
It's not Bevan. No.
He's got a BJ8.
No, not Bevan.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Hold on here.
No problem.
I'm going a blank.
Bob, this is Les. I have one in my, excuse me, my BT7.
You got a wooden dash in yours? I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes, my brother-in-law was a wood maker, and he made me up a wooden dash that's in there with a nice wooden insert in it.
Okay. So does it look similar to this?
It's Jim Bagan that has a wood dash in his.
Okay, yeah, Jim Bagan.
I'm surprised
okay,
it's not stainless steel.
Yeah, that's right. Another tri-carb owner.
Polished stainless steel.
Polished.
Well, that's good, Les. Thanks for sharing. Dave Malley, you still on? Dave Malley? Dave looked like he must have left. Other questions that folks have tonight?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Alden.
I had when I got my car, I had a wheel, original type wheel, adjustable, and the wheel wasn't in very good shape, but the dealer had, when he took over the car from the widow that had had it in the garage for 6 years, the wheel that was on it, he said, was the original wheel, and it was worse. So he went on eBay and he found a replacement wheel. So after I got it, I took the original wheel, which I thought was original with the car because there'd only been 3 owners. And I sent it to this fellow, Robert, steering wheel Bob or something. And he refurbished it, did a beautiful job. And it just looked perfect. Well, I've had it a year, and I noticed after a few months, it started a little bit of a blister. And this spring, it's quite a bit blistered now. So I called him up and he said, oh, well, I've had 3 over the 25, 30 years he's been doing it. He's had 3 wheels that were made of plastic. They weren't the original Delrin. And of those plastic ones, he said, I've had 3 that there's some oil in the plastic that, even though I used epoxy base and all epoxy and everything, and he says it just comes through and it blisters everything up and there's nothing you can do about it. And he said, what you do is take the other wheel you got and put it out in the sun. And if it doesn't blister, you send that to me. Maybe I can get that one to look right. Well, I don't know whether to believe that or not. But I paid him a lot of money to do this job because he came well recommended. And I just wondered what experience you have. I'm inclined to, I don't want to go to Moss because everything I buy from Moss seems to be the wrong shape or there's something wrong with it. And I went to look at AH spares. They're a little more expensive, but I don't know whether that's the same wheel, whatever the reproduction is. So does anybody give me some ideas whether to buy a new one or go to somebody else? This fellow did a beautiful job, but he says that's the plastic has this, because it's not the original Delrin, has this oil in it that seems to dissolve the epoxy, which makes me a little skeptical. What does everybody know?
Dana's got his hand raised.
No,
Dana,
I got their hand raised. Contact Roy Crane. He bought a BN1, a basket case, horrible wheel. He welded the steel back together, then redid it himself. Impeccable job. Talk to Roy Crane. He's a member.
Roy Crane?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in Wilmington, Mass.
Yes.
He's our Wing 5 coordinator.
Okay, Wilmington, Mass.
Yeah.
But he did it himself. Now, is there any? I'm not sure that if there's any truth to this, what this fellow's telling me, there's nothing to be. It isn't in the process; it's in the wheel. Am I better off just buying a new wheel, a reproduction old one? Does anybody have any experience with those?
Bob Ewell?
Yeah, we buy several of the repro wheels, and it's the same wheel from AH Spares or from Moss, and they are really very, very good.
So that's the cheapest thing I can do, because I'm not going to go back and spend $600-700 to have another old wheel redone unless I know there's a good prospect. And best to just go to Moss, and the wheels from AH Spares and Moss are the same.
Yeah, I bought a reproduction one from Moss for my car, and it's been great.
They're okay.
Hey, you can buy them from Auto Farm as well. We stock them too.
From where?
From Bob Ewell Auto Farm.
Oh.
Just as an aside here, we at one time thought we were going to repair steering wheels, and we found that the product that they're made with will dissolve in acetone. So we got a couple of old steering wheels and we broke off all the plastic-like material and dissolved it in acetone, and we made really nice looking wheels and polished them, and we had $3,000 or $4,000 of time in them, and we decided this was not a good exercise, so we didn't do any more.
So the best thing to do is just get the production.
Yeah.
So Alden, I sent you Bob's contact information.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Yeah, Peter, I'm wondering what people do for Whitworth hardware. I know that spare engine, the oil pan needs some bolts, and I don't know how to describe or how to order them or where.
Is this a BN1 too, or is it a 6-cylinder?
No, it's a 4. It's a 100 motor.
A 6-cylinder?
No, 4.
Oh, 4-cylinder. Yeah, the BSF screws for the oil pan. All we do is tap them out to UNC and put in small UNC screws.
That's what we did with the one that was buggered up. We had to drill it out. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah. They're very close.
Yep.
So in general, they're not really, because I've got some other bolts that I could probably replace, or one or two. I've only had it for 62 years, so things get missing, So anyway, not really a good way. It's really not a good way to order I know there's suppliers for them, but I don't know how to size them.
Hey Ted, have you tried Bolt Depot?
No. But what would I order? I could put my Whitworth ratchet on it and see what size that
Well, Michael, what did you say those were again? I'm sorry.
The originally they're quarter BSF. This is the ones that hold the oil pan on, right?
Yes.
Quarter BSF, but you'll find that you can run a quarter UNF, sorry, not UNC, quarter UNF tap through those holes. I think there's 2 threads per inch difference, if I remember correctly. And then you can use quarter UNF screws in there quite satisfactorily. They're so close that it doesn't really matter. You won't strip them out of the block.
All right.
So what I do is I put a quarter UNF tap into an electric drill, and I go zing, 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 zing up through every one of them, and they're done.
Yeah, that's what we did with that one.
Yeah.
So how many points would you lose on concourse for that?
You're gonna crawl under there, Bob. You're welcome.
Well, Rich didn't lose any points on his reproduction wheel on his concourse at Enclave. The steering wheel. Concourse Gold. What,
I got a couple
$9.95?
original wheels that need work, but
Okay. Well, maybe Alden can fix them for you.
there you go.
I have done wheels the way Bob is describing, dissolving stuff in acetone and making a paste, and then washing out the cracks with acetone and putting the paste in. As Bob said, it's a really slow process, but you can actually do a lovely job. But you gotta be retired.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, Peter, Ken
Hey.
here.
Hey, Ken.
Hi. Going back to the first question about water pumps. I just want to advise anybody that buys a water pump from Moss for the 4 cylinders. They're made in India, and if you go to tighten down the pulley, the pulley will not turn when you tighten down the outer bolt. And what the problem is they never chamfered the front edge of the water pump to match the inside chamfer of the pulley. You can do it home on your bench grinder if you're careful, but just something that I ran into, and to have other people be aware of that.
I think they include an information sheet on that, don't they, Ken?
Yes, sir, they do.
Yeah.
And they have fixed the problem right from the source they're getting them from, but there's still some of them hanging around, according to this great guy at Moss by the name of Dave, by the way.
Did the heater shutoff valve thread into the new pumps okay?
Well, Moss has got 2 pumps. They have an upgraded pump, what they call an upgraded pump, and the original valve will not fit in that. They have a reproduction of the original pump, and that valve does fit in there. It comes with a nipple, but you can take that nipple out and put your original shutoff valve in it. So just be aware of that.
How's your refurbishment coming along, Ken?
Well, it was going along fine, and Michael knows about this until I went to put the shifter in the split bushing on the end of the shifter. The circlip broke, and the circlip and the half of that brass bushing fell down in the tranny.
Oh no! So have you pulled the transmission?
No, good old Michael Salter says if I'm really careful, I don't have to take it out of the car. I can take the side cover off. I haven't attempted that yet. So
okay.
I'm trying to offer Michael, bed and breakfast here to come down and help me.
hopefully he has a current passport.
Actually, I'm busy. Sorry.
My wife's a great cook and baker.
Okay.
But other than that, everything.
Yeah, Judd?
Yeah, two real quick questions. One, I put a replacement wood dash in my car that I got from Moss probably 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm now getting some kind of hairline cracks in it. Is there anything to do? And then my second question is, I've got a rattle in the rear end that I swear is tailpipes banging against something, but I've looked at them, I banged on them, everything else, and I can't, and it doesn't seem to be the tailpipes. Is there anything else back there that would cause a rattle when you go over bumps?
What car?
BJ8.
65.
65.
The rattle is loose rear shocks.
Okay.
On the mounts.
Okay, thanks. That's the thought I had. Okay. And then how about the dash?
Dash is quite simple. You take all the instruments out, then you undo all the screws that hold the dash in, and you take it out, and you refinish it.
And you
you'll have it done, and you'll have it done in a week.
That's what, yeah. That's what I thought it was, but I just wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Now, did they do a proper veneer on that reproduction dash, Judd?
Yeah, it looked very good, but like I said, I'm just getting pimples, these fine line cracks. On the rear shocks, is it a question of just rebolting them, or do I need to replace the shocks?
The rear shock, it'll be there are two bolts that hold the shock onto the mount on the frame.
Yeah.
And they're notorious for coming loose, and they're extremely difficult to reach and tighten. Just persevere, you'll get there eventually, but they are really hard to get onto.
Okay, that's what I had written. I just before I did it, I wanted to confirm it. So
the shock is probably okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, just one other thought on that, Michael. If the shock had been loose for a long period of time, it could have opened up that hole. That for
it could be
the hole in the shock.
Yeah, that is actually correct. But you can usually even get away with it if you've got a decent thick washer that you shape to the hole, and then tighten them up, and you can get away without actually having to replace the shock. But it is a fiddly job.
Thanks. Okay, thanks.
When you put in the bolts back in the shocks, if you use the what are they? No lock washers. It's a two-piece washer with serrations on the insides, and then it will help a great deal in keeping those shock bolts tight.
I just did that project this weekend using the Nord locks that I got from Bob Yule.
There you go.
And it fiddly was a nice way to describe it. But that leads me to my quick question. While I was under there, I noticed that the shock link, one of the nuts on one of the shock link was a little bit loose. So I tightened that up. How tight do I need to make that nut on the shock link?
Any recommendations?
The old mechanic secret is you tighten it up till it strips and back it off to flats. It's a bit hard to say, Penny. It's a feel that you develop. Tight is how I would describe it, but don't strip it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's hard to say really, but tight, yes.
I got it as tight as I could get it, but it was naturally, this is on the side where the exhaust comes out. So it's fiddly to say the least.
Was that the one in the shock arm or the other one?
The other one.
The other one.
Actually, no, it's a shock arm. It was
the one in the shock arm. You're tightening into a taper.
Yes.
You can get into a bit of a problem where the thread bottoms out before it tightens in the taper. So you have to be a little bit careful there to make sure that the thread hasn't bottomed out and it's still loose in the taper, which you can get away with by putting an extra washer on it.
I hadn't bottomed out the thread.
Good, you're okay then. It'll be fine. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Going back to that question about the brass bushing that in the two halves, and the one half that fell in the transmission with the snap ring. We had that same thing happen a while back, and I drained the oil, and the bushing half came out with the oil.
Wow.
The snap ring, I pushed a magnet up through the drain hole, and I found the snap ring.
Well, that was going to be the next thing I was going to try before I pulled that side cover off.
Yeah, you could get lucky.
Yeah. Probably not, but
Oh,
and the
no.
other thing that Michael suggested was, well, that split brass bushing is not available, so I'm using the MGB plastic one that snaps on.
Oh, they're definitely available. We have them in stock.
Yeah, but not the brass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brass are available. We have them in stock, and they have been. They have now made a plastic bushing to replace them, but the brass are still available. We have them.
Yeah, the plastic one is off an early MGB, Bob.
Yeah.
Well, the plastic one is the one I ordered from Moss. In fact, I got them today in the mail.
So if you drop that inside, you can just leave it there and just screw it out.
Right. Just
call 'em-
flatten it out and mash it up.
They call them Bob Horseshoes Yule.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
There you go. Hey, Bruce Olson, how are you doing with your restoration and your Big Healy?
I'm doing okay. Actually, I have one issue. If you recall, last month I was having trouble with a dual circuit master cylinder.
Yeah.
And it turned out that the master cylinder was bad. I ordered another one from AH Spares, and that fixed the problem. But now I'm noticing the brakes are kind of hard. Just you got to push them really hard, and the diameter of the dual circuit master cylinder is 3/4, and the single circuit one on the BJ7 is 5/8. I know when they went to 3/4 on the BJ8, they added a servo booster, and this is not supposed to be used with a servo booster. Plus, I don't know where you can get a dual circuit remote servo booster anyways. So, but I was just wondering, does that make a big difference going from 5/8 to a 3/4 in terms of how hard the brakes pedal feels?
It increases as the square of the diameter.
Okay.
If you figure the area out, that's the percentage change. It is harder, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe it's just something I'll have to live with. But otherwise, it works great. So I'm just kind of down in Florida right at the moment. But as soon as I get back, I'm trying to arrange to get the car over to Fitzwilliam when the car leaves, hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah. So you haven't been able to drive it really yet, Bruce. You just felt the hard pedals.
Just down the street, just down my. Yeah, there's no body on it, so I can't take it too far.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well, a lot of people have done that before.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions tonight?
Pete, I have a
Hey, Steve.
Quick question, somewhat non-Austin-Healey, but I'm curious if anyone knows. I'm on the Cape in Massachusetts. And I'm wondering if anyone has any reference for a mechanic or a shop that has experience with Bentley. I'm snooping around a little bit at a particular Bentley model that ran from 1998 to 2005. And I would like to talk to a mechanic or a shop, that might know something about that. And I just didn't know if anyone had any ideas of anyone that might have some of that knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give you one thought, and I'm going to be very sketchy on this, but there is, I believe, a Honda dealer in Hyannis, and the guy has got a car collection of 50 or 60 cars. And I looked at a Jensen Interceptor that he had, and just based on the range of cars that he's got, they might know somebody.
Okay.
He's got everything in the 50 or 60 car collection.
Was this the owner that had this collection or a mechanic that had the collection?
No, the owner that had the collection.
It's the owner. You don't remember his name by any chance?
I don't.
Okay, no, I know where the dealer is.
He had a Jensen Interceptor convertible on Bring a Trailer a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can go back and look at their old listings, you might find them that way.
Okay.
And it was 2 or 3 years ago.
No, I know exactly where that is. I can track that down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dave Wall, do you know anyone that knows Bentleys on the Cape?
I don't know if the fellow knows Bentleys. I was just trying to find the exact name of the place. It's in North Falmouth, and they specialize in sports cars.
Yeah.
He seems like a pretty good fella. I think it's
Sports Imports.
Foreign Auto in North Falmouth. They're right off of, like if you go towards the end of 151, just keep going up into North Falmouth. He's right there up by the ballpark.
Yeah, Sports Imports. Scott McNamara. Yeah.
Okay, you're familiar then. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he works on my Healy actually. So
I want to say this was a Honda dealer, but I may be wrong on that. But it was a manufacturer's dealer.
Hmm.
And I'll go back and see if I can find something too.
So Steve, are you a member of British Cars of Cape Cod?
I'm not. I was, but I'm not recently.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was any context they may have.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to ask. Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously multi-mark there.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm willing to go off the Cape if I, need to, but
right.
Just sort of throw it out there.
You're the first person in 5 years of these monthly calls that's ever asked a question about a Bentley.
Yeah.
So, other questions?
Peter, I
Please.
found I dug around and I found the name of that plater. It's actually in Holyoke, not in Worcester. It's D&S plating.
Okay, Bob, you got that? D&S plating in Holyoke?
Writing it down as we speak.
And I'll give you a number when you're ready.
I'm ready.
413-210-3858. Speak with Joe. I don't know Joe's last name.
Okay.
And tell Joe you got his name through Stu Laidlaw. Stu uses him a lot. He knows him well.
I will do that. Thank you.
That may get you in the door. It may get you thrown out. I'm not sure.
Are you familiar with his work?
I've seen his work. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's expensive.
Yeah.
Chroming's not cheap.
I helped a fellow recently sell a 29 Studebaker. He dropped the window crank and it broke, pot metal. He took it to this guy and he was able to repair it, solidly repair it, plate it. It looked brand new, beautiful.
Great.
Well,
Well, thank you for that.
yeah, thanks, Harvey. That's good. Okay. Other questions tonight? So just as a reminder, this Saturday at 10 o'clock, we're having our 2024 planning meeting. It will be via Zoom as well. You should have received a reminder notice on that. So it's really looking at events that we'll have planned across the region. Like Steve Fell's got an event coming up in New York in a couple of weeks, and so if we'd like to see Saturday morning to any thoughts and recommendations of things you'd like to see for that HCA New England does for 2024. So that's Saturday at 10 o'clock. So hope to see you there. Other than that, this next call will be I think it's April 8th. It's early because April 1st is a Monday, so it'll be April 8th will be our next Zoom call for the technical calls. So
The eclipse date, Pete.
oh, is that the eclipse date? Okay.
Yep.
I've got a friend that's going out to watch the eclipse.
Yeah, I'm going up to Geneva, New York to watch
Okay.
it. Yeah.
And what percentage will it be in Geneva, do you think, Tom?
100%.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. So do you have a spot there in Geneva you're going to watch it?
Yeah, we're staying at a hotel up there from the 7th to the 10th.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I hope so. They said 500,000 people are coming to that region.
Really?
I call it Woodstock for nerds, I think.
Okay. Well, you probably won't see as many interesting sights as they saw at Woodstock, will you?
Yeah. No, I'll miss that call, but thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. So, well, thank you all tonight for your participation, and also we covered a lot of different areas and different territory, and hopefully you enjoyed that. We appreciate the input from Michael and Bob Ewell for all their insight. It was very valuable, and again, a lot of people brought a lot of good insight to the group. So thank you very much for that. Again, we record these. We'll put it out on our website. So if you need to refer back to anything, it's always on the members only section of the website. And again, to get in there, it's a simple password is just Healey lowercase, and that's the way you can always go back and watch any of these. And I put a highlight of the events that we talked about as well.
Sometimes,
So,
I don't know.
so thank you all for your time tonight.
We have to go
Thank
back.
you, Peter.
We have to go back to
Yep.
that.
Okay. Thank you
See
for
ya.
your input.
Thanks,
everyone.
Peter.
Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.